Welcome to my Expat stories. You ever spend your whole life coming in second string varsity football, runner-up salesman of the year, sales manager but never VP, the guy who almost won but didn't? Derek knows that feeling. 44 years of it. Phoenix, Arizona. Then he goes to Manila, meets Princess in a Makati bar. 27. Stunning. And she tells him about her ex, Hans, German businessman. Treated her terribly. Made her feel worthless. Bought her things, but made her feel cheap. Derek sees his opening. Finally, a chance to be first, to be the hero, to prove he's different from all those other guys. So every time he helps her, every gift, every gesture, he says the same thing. I'm nothing like him. I'll treat you right. If you've ever tried so hard to prove you're different that you became exactly what someone was counting on, hit that subscribe and like button. This one stings. Here's Derek. I've been in sales 15 years. You learn things, how to read people, how to position yourself, how to close. And the most important thing, you learn that second place is just first loser. Nobody remembers who came in second. Nobody cares about the runner-up. You either win or you don't. I'm Derek, 44, sales manager for a medical devices company. Phoenix, been there 8 years. Good job, decent money. About $85,000 a year, base plus commission. I do fine, not great, fine. Because I'm a manager, not a VP. Regional, not national. Close, but not quite there. Story of my life, actually. High school football, I was second string varsity. College, I graduated with honours, but not top honours. My marriage lasted 6 years before she left me for a guy who owned his own business. No kids. She said I was always chasing something I couldn't catch. I said she didn't understand ambition. We were both right. I went to Manila for a sales conference. Medical Device Expo at the Manila Hotel. 3 days. Presentations, networking, the usual. I'd been to conferences in Vegas, Chicago, Miami, never Asia. Figured why not? Change of scenery. The conference was fine. Met some contacts. Picked up some leads. But Manila itself, it hit different. The energy. The chaos. The mix of old Spanish buildings and glass towers. The humidity that makes your shirt stick to your back the second you step outside. I liked it. Felt alive in a way Phoenix doesn't. Last night of the conference, a couple of us from the company went out. Makati? That's the business district. All the fancy hotels and office towers and expensive bars. We ended up at a place called Black Market. Upscale. Not a girly bar. Not one of those places. An actual lounge. Cocktails. Live music. Young professionals. Expats. That crowd. And that's where I met Princess. She was sitting at the bar, alone, wearing a black dress that was simple but looked expensive. Hair down. Minimal makeup. She wasn't working the room. Wasn't looking around trying to catch anyone's eye. Just sitting there with a drink, scrolling through her phone. I'm not usually the guy who approaches women in bars. I'm confident in sales meetings. Put me in front of a hospital procurement officer and I'll close that deal. But random women at bars, that's always felt like a different game. One I'm not as good at. But something about her, the way she carried herself. I walked over, asked if the seat next to her was taken. She looked up, smiled. Small smile. Said no, go ahead. I sat down, ordered a drink. We didn't talk immediately, just sat there. Then she asked if I was here for business. I said, yeah, medical device conference. She nodded, said she worked in marketing, BPO company, business process outsourcing. Makati was full of them. We talked for maybe 20 minutes. Easy conversation. She was smart, articulate, had opinions about things, asked good questions. When my colleagues said they were heading back to the hotel, I told them I'd catch up later. Princess and I talked for another 2 hours. About work, about Manila, about Phoenix. She'd never been to the States. Wanted to visit someday. I told her she'd like Arizona. Different from here. Dry heat instead of humidity. Mountains instead of ocean. At some point I asked if she was seeing anyone. Direct question. Sales technique. Don't dance around it. She paused. Then said no, not anymore. She'd ended something recently. Needed space. I didn't push. We exchanged numbers. She said if I was in Manila again, let her know. We could get coffee. I flew back to Phoenix the next day, but I couldn't stop thinking about her. We started messaging. Daily, nothing heavy. Just checking in. How was your day? What are you working on? She'd send photos of Makati at sunset. I'd send photos of desert sunsets. They looked completely different, but they were both stunning. 3 weeks later, I booked another trip to Manila. Not for business, just to see her. Told my boss I was taking a week of vacation. He didn't care. I had the time saved up. I messaged Princess, said I was coming back. She seemed happy. Said she'd show me around. The real Manila. Not just the conference hotel and Makati bars. That week was. It was different. We spent every evening together. She took me to places tourists don't see. Intramuros, the old walled city. Rizal Park. Street food in Binondo, Chinatown. Hole-in-the-wall restaurants where I was the only foreigner. And the food was incredible. Sinigang so sour it made my eyes water. Sisig that was crispy and rich and probably terrible for my cholesterol. But I didn't care. And we talked. Really talked. About her family. Her mother in Laguna province. Her younger brother in college. Her father who'd passed away when she was 18. About how hard she'd worked to get where she was. How Manila was expensive and competitive and sometimes exhausting. On the fourth night we were walking along Roxas Boulevard. The bay on one side, the city lights on the other. And she stopped. Just stopped walking. Looked out at the water. I asked if she was okay. She said, yeah, just thinking about something. I waited, didn't push. Then she said, can I tell you something? I said, of course. The guy I was seeing before, the one I told you about, he wasn't good to me. I asked what she meant. She shook her head, said it didn't matter anymore. It was over. But it had been hard. Harder than she'd let on. I wanted to know more, but I could tell she didn't want to talk about it. So I just said, I'm sorry you went through that. She looked at me, and she said, you're different. I can tell. Those words. You're different. Like she'd seen something in me that other people didn't see. Like I was first place at something. Finally, we kissed that night. On the boulevard. With the Manila Bay doing its thing behind us and the smell of exhaust and salt water and street food all mixing together. And it felt right. It felt like winning. I flew back to Phoenix, but we stayed in constant contact. Video calls twice a week. Messages every day. She'd show me her office. I'd show her mine. We'd eat dinner together on video. Her with rice and whatever she'd picked up from the canteen. Me with whatever takeout I'd grabbed. Month 2, I flew back. Stayed 10 days this time. We were together. Actually together. She introduced me to her friends, Maria and Jen. They worked at the same BPO company. We all went out for karaoke one night. I can't sing for shit, but I tried. They laughed. Princess laughed. But it was good laughing. Inclusive. Her friends asked how we met. Princess told the story. They seemed genuinely happy for her. Maria said something in Tagalog. Princess blushed. I asked what she said. Princess said Maria was just being silly, saying I was handsome. I said thank you, but I definitely wasn't. Princess squeezed my hand under the table. That trip she told me more about the ex. His name was Hans. German guy. Businessman. Import-export. Something vague like that. They dated for almost a year. He treated her well at first. Gifts, dinners, attention. But over time it changed. He started making her feel small, like she owed him. Like everything he did for her came with strings. She said he'd buy her things but then bring it up later. Remind her. Make her feel cheap. Like she was something he'd purchased. I felt my jaw tighten. Asked if he ever hurt her. Physically. She said no. Not like that. But emotionally. Made her feel worthless. Like she should be grateful he was even with her. I told her he sounded like a complete piece of shit. She smiled. Sad smile. Said yeah. He was. But she'd gotten out. Moved on. Was trying to anyway. I said, I'm nothing like him. She looked at me. I know. That's why I'm here. And right there, that moment, I decided something. I was going to show her what it meant to be treated right. To be valued. To be with someone who saw her as an equal. Not a transaction. I was going to prove I was different. Better. First place. The money started because of Hans. Everything started because of Hans. Month 3, Princess mentioned her apartment. She lived in Mandaluyong. Small studio. Decent building, but the landlord was raising the rent. She'd have to move farther out. Longer commute. More expensive transportation. She was stressed about it. I asked how much the increase was. She said 4,000 pesos. A month. About $70. I told her I'd cover it. She tried to refuse. I insisted. $70 was nothing to me, and I could see the stress it was causing her. Why should she have to move because of something so small? She thanked me, really thanked me. Then she said something that stuck with me. Hans used to pay for things too, but he'd remind me every time, like I owed him. You're not like that. I told her I'd never be like that. This wasn't a transaction. This was me caring about her. She hugged me, and I felt it. That feeling. Winning. Being first. Being the better man. Month 4, I moved some work around. Started doing more calls from Manila instead of Phoenix. My boss didn't love it, but I was still hitting my numbers, still closing deals. And medical device sales is global. I could take calls from anywhere. I rented a condo in Makati, 1 bedroom, furnished, close to Princess's work. $1,800 a month, 3-month lease initially. Figured I'd see how it went. Princess stayed over most nights. We fell into a routine. She'd finish work at 6. Come to my place. We'd cook together. Well, she'd cook. I'd try to help and usually just got in the way. We'd eat, watch Netflix, talk. It felt normal, like a real relationship. Not a vacation romance, something sustainable. One night we were on the couch, she was quiet. I asked what she was thinking about. She said Hans had contacted her, sent her a message on Facebook. I felt something cold move through my stomach. Asked what he wanted. She showed me the message. It was in German. I put it through Google Translate. Something about missing her, wanting to talk, saying he'd made mistakes. I asked if she was going to respond. She said no, absolutely not. She was done with him. But it still bothered her, brought everything back. How he'd made her feel, how he'd treated her like she was nothing. I told her to block him, cut him off completely. She deserved better than having that reminder sitting in her inbox. She nodded, said she would. Then she looked at me. Derek, you make me feel safe. Like I matter. He never did that. I pulled her closer, told her she did matter. To me, always. And internally I thought, good. I'm winning. I'm the better man. She knows it. The spending increased, but it never felt like spending. It felt like proving something. Every time I helped her with something, it was another point scored. Another way I was different from Hans. Her mother in Laguna needed medical tests. Diabetes screening, 2,000 pesos. I sent it before Princess finished explaining. She said Hans would have asked what the money was for. Made her explain every detail. I said I trusted her. If she said her mother needed it, that was enough. Her brother's tuition was due. 12,000 pesos for the semester. I transferred it. She tried to say she'd pay me back. I said absolutely not. Education is important. Her brother deserves support. Hans had never helped her family, she'd told me. Said it wasn't his problem. I told her family was part of her. Of course it mattered to me. Her laptop broke. Needed a new one for work. 25,000 pesos. About $450. I bought it. She cried. Actually cried. Said Hans had bought her things but made her feel guilty for needing them. I told her there was no guilt. I wanted her to have what she needed. She deserved it. Each time she'd compare it to Hans. How he did it versus how I did it. And each time I felt that competitive rush. I'm better. I'm different. I'm winning. Month 6, Princess told me more about Hans. The details came out gradually. Never all at once. Little pieces. Each one made me angrier. He'd taken her to expensive restaurants but then complained about the cost. Made her feel like she should have ordered something cheaper. He'd bought her jewellery but then told her she looked cheap wearing it. Like she didn't deserve nice things. He'd promised to help her start a business. A small online shop. She'd wanted to sell clothes. Had the whole plan worked out. He'd said he'd fund it. $10,000. Then changed his mind. Said she wasn't ready. Made her feel stupid for even asking. Every story made my blood pressure rise. This guy sounded like a complete narcissist. Controlling. Manipulative. And Princess had stayed with him for a year because she thought that was normal. That was what foreign men were like. I told her I'd help her start the business. If that was still something she wanted. She looked at me like I'd offered her the world. Said, really? I said absolutely. She had a good plan. Good eye for fashion. Why shouldn't she have her own thing? We worked on it together. Found suppliers. Set up the online store, got the inventory. I put in $12,000 total. She was so excited, so grateful. Said Hans had made her feel like her dreams were silly. I told her they weren't silly. They were hers, and they mattered. The business launched. Made a few sales. Not huge numbers, but it was something. She was proud. I was proud of her. And every time she made a sale, she'd tell me it was because I believed in her. Because I was different. Different from Hans. Always different from Hans. Month 8, I started noticing things. Small things. Her phone. She had 2. Said one was for work. One was personal. Made sense. A lot of people in Manila had 2 phones. Different networks had better coverage in different areas. But she was careful about the personal one. Kept it face down. Didn't answer it around me. Her schedule. Sometimes she'd cancel plans. Last minute. Work thing. Family emergency. Friend needed help. Each reason was reasonable. But they were adding up. 2 or 3 times a month. Her friends. I'd met Maria and Jen, but Princess talked about other friends I'd never met. People she'd spend time with but never introduced me to. When I asked about meeting them, she'd say they were shy, didn't speak English well, didn't want me to feel left out. And Hans, he kept messaging her. Or at least she kept showing me messages. Always in German. Always saying he wanted her back. Missed her. Made mistakes. Could they talk? Each time she showed me, she'd get upset. I'd comfort her. Tell her to block him. She'd say she tried, but he made new accounts. Found ways to reach her. I asked if she wanted me to contact him. Tell him to back off. She said no, that would make it worse. He had a temper. She didn't want to provoke him. A temper. That detail. New information. Added to the profile I was building of this guy. Controlling. Manipulative. Now potentially violent. I told her if he ever showed up in Manila, if he ever tried to contact her in person, to let me know immediately. I'd handle it. She smiled. Said she felt safe with me. Hans had never made her feel safe. I'm different. I'm better. I'm the one who protects her. Month 9, the business needed more capital. Initial inventory had sold, but restocking was expensive. She needed to buy in larger quantities to get better margins. Made sense. Standard business scaling. I put in another 8,000. Her apartment lease was up. She wanted to move to a better building. Closer to my condo, actually. Easier commute, safer neighbourhood. The deposit and first month were expensive. 30,000 pesos, I covered it. She said Hans had made her live in a terrible place. Said it was all she could afford. Never offered to help her find something better. I told her everyone deserves to feel safe in their home. Her mother needed surgery, cataracts. Public hospital had a long wait list. Private hospital could do it immediately. 50,000 pesos. I transferred it same day. Princess cried on the phone. Said her mother could barely see. Had been struggling for months. Hans had known about it. Never offered to help. Said it wasn't his responsibility. I told her of course it was my responsibility. Her mother mattered to her, so she mattered to me. Every expense was justified. Every amount was reasonable. And every single one was proof that I was nothing like Hans. I was at around $60,000 by month 10. I knew the number. I tracked it. Not because I regretted it. Because I wanted to know. Wanted to see the investment. The proof. The evidence that I was the better man. $60,000 to show Princess what it meant to be treated right. To be valued. To be loved without conditions. Worth it. Completely worth it. Because she'd chosen me. She'd had Hans, the German businessman with his money, and his gifts and his manipulation. And she'd left him. Chosen me instead. The sales manager from Phoenix who treated her like she deserved. I was winning. Finally. At something that mattered. But somewhere in the back of my head, in that part of my brain, that closes deals and reads people and knows when something doesn't add up, a small voice was starting to ask questions. Why did Hans keep finding ways to message her if she kept blocking him? Why had I never met these other friends she spent time with? Why did her work emergencies always happen when I suggested we do something specific? And the biggest question, if Hans was so terrible, so controlling, so manipulative, why did Princess keep bringing him up? Why was he still so present in our relationship when he'd been gone for almost a year? But I pushed those questions down, because asking them meant doubting her, and doubting her meant I wasn't all in, wasn't committed, wasn't the better man. So I didn't ask. I just kept proving, kept spending, kept showing her I was different. Different from Hans. Always different from Hans. The man I'd never met. The man who was always there. The man I was determined to be better than, no matter what it cost. Month 11, I made a decision. I was going to find Hans, confront him, tell him to leave Princess alone. Stop messaging her. Stop making her relive the trauma. She'd moved on. She was with me now. And he needed to accept that. I know how it sounds. Territorial. Aggressive. But I couldn't stand it anymore. Every time she showed me another message from him, every time she got that look on her face, that hurt look, I wanted to punch something. This guy had hurt her, was still hurting her, and I was just, what? Supposed to do nothing. I hired a private investigator, guy named Ramon, Filipino, former police, ran a small agency in Makati, did background checks, corporate investigations, that kind of thing. Found him online, good reviews, professional. I gave Ramon everything I knew about Hans, German businessman, import-export, had lived in Manila, dated Princess for about a year, ended roughly 18 months ago, first name Hans. That was all I had. Ramon said he'd need more. Last name would help. Business name. Address. Anything concrete? I asked Princess. Casual. Said I was just curious about the guy who'd hurt her. What was his full name? She paused. Then said Hans Weber. Common name. Ramon said that would make it harder, but he'd try, asked if I had photos. Business cards. Anything. I asked Princess. She said no. She deleted everything. Wanted him out of her life completely. Ramon said he'd start with visa records, immigration, business registrations, German embassy. See what he could find. It took 3 weeks. 3 weeks of Ramon sending me updates, checking databases, running searches, contacting sources at immigration, the German Business Association in Manila, hotels where a German businessman might have stayed. Nothing. No Hans Weber matching the description. No visa records for any Hans Weber in the Philippines during the time frame. No business registration. No hotel stays. No trail at all. Ramon called me. Said he'd done everything he could. Either the name was wrong or the person didn't exist in any official capacity. Maybe Hans had been using an alias. Maybe he'd been working illegally. Or maybe he didn't finish the sentence. Didn't need to. I sat in my condo for a long time after that call, staring at my phone, at the messages from Princess, at the photos of us together, at the business we'd built, the apartment I'd helped her move into, the life we were creating. And I thought, maybe Ramon missed something. Maybe Hans was careful. Off the grid. There could be explanations. But that voice in the back of my head, the sales voice, the one that knows when a deal smells wrong, that voice was getting louder. I opened Princess's laptop. She'd left it at my place. Used it sometimes to work on the online business. I knew her password. She'd given it to me. No secrets, she'd said. We trusted each other. I opened Facebook. Her account was already logged in. Went to her messages. Started scrolling. Looking for anything about Hans. Found it. Messenger thread with someone named Celine. I didn't know Celine. Princess had never mentioned her. I started reading. The messages went back months. Before I'd met Princess. And there it was. Celine. How's the new guy? Princess. American. Sales manager. Phoenix. Seems nice. Celine. You going to use the German story? Princess. Already did. He ate it up. Celine. They always do. Rich foreign guys love playing hero. Princess. This one especially. Very competitive. Wants to prove he's better. Celine. Better than what? Princess. Better than Hans. Better than all the other guys. Better than everyone. It's perfect. He'll spend forever trying to prove it. Celine. Hans doesn't even exist, haha. Princess. I know. That's why it works so well. Can't compete with a real person. They might show up. But a fake ex. I can make him as terrible as I need to. I stopped scrolling. Stared at the screen. Read it again. And again. Making sure I understood what I was seeing. The German ex story? They always do. Hans doesn't even exist. I scrolled up. Found more. Messages from before we'd met. Princess talking to Celine about other men. Different names. Different nationalities. Some got the sick mother story. Some got the business dream story. Some got the German ex story. And there were amounts. Dollar amounts. What each guy had sent. What he was good for. How long she thought she could keep it going. My name was in there. Derek. The American. Probably good for 6 figures if I play it right. Very romantic. Needs to be the hero. 6 figures. I was at $97,000. Close, very close to six figures. I closed the laptop, walked to the balcony, stood there looking out at Makati, all the buildings, all the lights, all the people living their lives. And I thought about every time I'd said, I'm nothing like Hans, every time I'd proven I was different, better, every romantic gesture, every gift, every time I'd felt that rush of winning. I'd been competing with a ghost, a fictional character Princess had created specifically to trigger my ego, my need to be first, my need to prove I was the best. And it had worked. Perfectly. The sick part, I couldn't even be angry at her for being good at it. In sales, you identify the customer's needs and you meet them. You find their pressure points, and you push. She'd identified mine, and she'd pushed, and I'd bought everything she was selling. Princess came over that evening, smiled, kissed me, asked how my day was. I said I needed to talk to her about something. She sat down, face open. Curious, I told her I'd hired an investigator to find Hans. She went very still. I said the investigator couldn't find any record of him. Not in visa databases, not in business registrations. Not anywhere. She started to say something. I held up my hand. I also read your messages with Celine. Her face changed, not to panic, not to guilt, to something more. Resignation. Like a poker player whose bluff got called and they're deciding whether to fold or double down. She chose honesty. Okay, she said. So you know. I asked if any of it was real, any of the feelings, any of the relationship. She thought about it. Actually thought about it. I care about you, I do, you're nice. Easy to be with. But love, Derek, you didn't want love. You wanted to win. You wanted to be the hero. I gave you that. You got to feel like the best man. I got to pay my bills. What's wrong with that? I asked about Hans. She shrugged. Hans is whoever I need him to be. Controlling German businessman. Terrible Australian ex. Abusive American. Depends on the guy. You needed someone to compete with. Someone to be better than. So I gave you Hans. I sat there, processing. Then asked the question I needed to ask. Did you plan it from the start, that first night at Black Market? She nodded. I saw you watching me, saw how you approached. Confident, but trying to prove something. I knew your type immediately. Competitive, romantic, needs to win. The German X story is perfect for guys like you. Guys like you. Plural, I was a type, a category, a sales demographic. I asked her to leave. She didn't argue. Packed her things from my condo, the laptop, the clothes she kept there. Moved efficiently. Like she'd done this before. At the door she turned. Derek, for what it's worth, you're genuinely a good guy. Better than most. If the situation was different, if I didn't need the money, maybe it could have been real. I said nothing. She left. I sat in my condo for the rest of the night. Did the math. $97,200. Spread over 11 months. Apartment. Business. Medical bills. Rent. Living expenses. Gifts. All of it to compete with a man who didn't exist. I called my bank in Phoenix, explained the situation. They said the same thing every bank says. Voluntary transfers. Authorised by me, no fraud from a legal standpoint. I'd given the money. Willingly. Repeatedly. I contacted a lawyer in Manila. He said the same thing. Unless I could prove she'd lied about something specific, something verifiable, it was just a relationship that didn't work out. Expensive breakup. Not a crime. I flew back to Phoenix a week later. Ended my lease on the Makati condo. Closed the online business. Told my boss I was done with the Manila arrangement. Needed to focus on domestic sales. He said fine. Asked if everything was okay. I said yeah. Just ready to come home. I'm back in Phoenix now. Same job. Same apartment I had before. Same life essentially. Minus $97,000. I don't date. Haven't tried. Don't have the energy for it. Every time I think about putting myself out there, I remember Princess sitting on my couch saying, I knew your type immediately. My type. The competitor. The guy who needs to win. Who needs to be first. Who needs to prove he's different, better, special. And she was right. That's exactly what I am. That's exactly what I've always been. Second string varsity, who spent his whole life trying to prove he should have been first string. Sales manager who spends every day trying to prove he should be VP. I thought my competitive nature was a strength. Drive, ambition, refusal to settle. Turns out it's a weakness. One that cost me almost six figures. Because Princess saw it coming before I even knew I was competing. The worst part isn't the money, isn't even the deception. It's realizing that every romantic gesture I made, every time I said, "I'm nothing like Hans," every moment I felt like I was winning, I was actually losing. Because I wasn't competing with Hans, I was competing with myself, with my own need to be the hero, and that's a competition you can't win. Because the house always wins, and in this case, Princess was the house. And she knew the game better than I ever could. This is my expat stories. Sometimes the person you're trying to beat doesn't exist. Sometimes the competition is just a mirror, and sometimes proving you're different is exactly what makes you the same as everyone else who fell for it.